Over the past year, there have been two hot button topics in collegiate athletics: the transfer portal and NIL. Well, there are rumblings that there might be changes to the transfer portal that'll make Ryan Day's job just a little bit trickier. What are those changes? We'll discuss those right here on Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Monday, July 25th in the year 2022, and I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Over the weekend, I spent some time away from everything. I decompressed, went up to Northwest Indiana to Indiana Dunes State Park to spend some time in nature, in the sun, at the beach, and it was fun. You may say, Jay, Northwest Indiana, a beach. Just go there. You'll see exactly why I described it the way that I did, but I spent some time away. Didn't get on my computer, didn't take my microphone, no podcasting, no nothing for the entire time I was away. And in my inbox when I got back, I knew I had emailed myself an article before I left about some things going on with the transfer portal. The transfer portal is still one of those things that's really tricky to handle. You almost need somebody on your staff to manage your roster, to really know what's going on internally with the portal, and also outside of that with the portal, more of a GM aspect to help the head coach do everything he can to win football games and manage the roster the best way he can, but another person would definitely help him. Well, ultimately, there are some rumblings right now that the transfer portal could be seeing some alterations. It's going to make things trickier for the head coach, Ryan Day. The rumblings that I am reading and are probably going to go into effect on August 3rd are that if a player is in academically good standing, he can transfer to any university as many times as he wants to. Now, you might say, Jay, are you sure about that? Like, we know you were gone over the weekend. We know you decompressed. We understand that you were not really in tune with what's going on. So are you sure you're reading that article correctly? Yes, I am. The rule that might be put into place is that players, if they are in academic good standing, which is going to be hard if you're transferring, because one thing about when you transfer, all of your credits might not transfer from one institution to the next. So if you're in good standing academically, you could transfer as many times as you want to. So realistically, bearing it, of course, if there are no injuries, you could transfer 5 times, play 4 years, and you can make that thing happen. If I'm Ryan Day, I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, like we wanted to kind of put some guardrails with this thing. We kind of wanted to make sure that the way that the athletes can move, there are restrictions and there are some guidelines. There are some rules. People have called this the Wild Wild West, and well, it can very much feel like that. This is going to make things a whole lot trickier for Ryan Day. And if I'm putting myself in Ryan Day's shoes just for a few minutes, I'm sitting here thinking like this. In the first year of the transfer portal, I don't think it's been a full year of the portal just yet. Ryan Day lost linebackers in the middle of the season. There were corners that transferred during spring practice. I lost 3 quarterbacks as well. Quinn Ewers, who was a freshman, Jack Moe III, who transferred to Florida, and then you also lost a walk-on who ended up leaving as well. You're losing guys. Those are just 2 linebackers, a corner in Cavazos. You lost a D tackle who went to North Carolina with Cavazos. You lost 3 quarterbacks. What is it? 2, 5. That's 7 players. Yeah, that's 7 players right there. You've also lost more than that. I believe Ohio State at one point in time had 10 to 11 players in the portal literally at one time. And Ryan Day is thinking, okay, Ike, we need some guardrails. Like everybody needs guardrails. Ryan Day has guardrails with his job, and he has rules and guidelines and standards as the head coach at Ohio State. When it comes to NIL, there's a compliance compartment at Ohio State that you have to make sure things are in compliance to make the deal go through. You need all these things. And all of a sudden, what's going on with the athletes is, well, so we can cover our butt, possibly cover our butt in court. Well, and stop restricting these people who aren't athletes. Well, how about we open this up for everybody? And if I'm Ryan Day, I'm probably going to say, let's take a TO. Let's wind this thing back. Are you sure this is the best thing for the athletes? And we're going to discuss if it is the best thing for the athletes or not here in a second. Kind of a two-sided conversation about this very thing. But Ryan Day's probably wondering, man, this job is getting harder than I thought. I did not think at any point in time that this was going to be the move for the athletes, that all of a sudden I become the head coach. They can transfer one time without sitting out. The sitting out was primarily to help them academically to stay in good standing. But now, if they're in academic good standing, which is going to be hard, but if they are, buddy, you can move wherever you want to. Freedom of movement, freedom of motion here all the time in basketball. It's now the transfer portal, and Ryan Day's probably trying to figure out, how in the world am I going to manage this roster without some extra money? Hey, we're living in a world and a time that money is moving a lot of things right now. A lot of decisions are being made via money. Here are some that you and I are discussing and handling right now on a regular basis. Some people are contemplating how much gas they're going to put in their tank when they go to fill up. Some people are contemplating how much food they're going to buy at the grocery store each week because, well, gas prices are currently going down. That grocery bill is still a little bit higher, tad too high for a lot of people. And Ryan Day, this is something that he's going to have to tackle. He's going to have to handle. It could go into place once the NCAA Board of Directors votes on August 3rd. This thing could go into place, and it's the world we're living in. People want freedom of movement, freedom of motion. People want to change things for the NCAA. Hey, it's going to make things really hard for coaches, really hard for Ryan Day, and there might be a topic or two here on the show discussing this as a player decides, hey, I want to leave, but why do you want to leave? Just because I want to. I can go anywhere, transfer 2 times, transfer 3 times. I'm a good student. I stay on my grades. I know I might lose credits, but I'm staying on top of things. I can leave as many times as I want to. This is the world that we're living in. Things are a little bit crazy. Is this the best move for athletes, though? We can understand it's going to be a wrench in Ryan Day's plan, but is this wise? Is this good for the athletes? We'll discuss that next right here on Locked On Buckeyes. As the sun comes out, if small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a free job posting in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple #hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the people to hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Ryan Day, the NCAA, and the transfer portal have all probably have a few interesting things about what's going on. Now, the portal is not a person, but the portal is literally, it's not even a thing. It's just this pool of players that decide I'm going to transfer. If I'm a player and I hear this, I'm happy. Like if I'm a player that's hearing, oh, I could potentially transfer. If I'm in a good academic standing with my institution, credits-wise, grades-wise, things of that nature. If I want to transfer, say 1 year after my freshman year, I want to go somewhere. Doesn't really work out. But I'm not falling back. I want to transfer once again. I can do that. if I'm a player in all of this, I'd probably be happy. As much as the fan in me or the analyst in me or the talking head in me might have a different opinion, but I think if I'm a player, you want to allow me that I can move as freely as I want to. I mean, a coach can move whenever he wants to, and a university can send out that money to buy that contract out so that coach could go literally wherever he wants to, and a coach can go from one job to the next job to the next job to the next job to the next job. And it's like, okay, great. A coach can do it. I can too. Wow, I really like this freedom. Like, literally, I would love that. You know how you are on your job. I know how I am on my job. I know how I am when it comes to different things, when it comes to podcasting, this podcast every day of the week. There are certain things that go well. Sometimes things are a little restrictive, but that's just life. That is literally life. That's how things are. That's how the cookie crumbles. And automatically what we're finding is people don't like we know this, but people don't like the restrictions. Since the beginning of time, people do not handle rules very well. And so the players probably love everything about this. Keep my grades up. Stay on top of my credits. I can leave. Buddy, let's make this move happen. But is it the best thing for the athletes to allow them freedom of movement? I think when you go about that, you have to factor in what the NCAA is thinking right now, how you, the fan, might be thinking right now, how the coach might be thinking right now, and take all of that into account. You might not want to. You might say, Jay, those things don't matter if it's the best thing for the player right now. But let's factor all of those things in. As a coach, you probably are like, man, this is one more headache. As the NCAA, you're probably thinking, man, this is one monkey off of our back. We, for so long, were being restrictive and saying, no, you couldn't have this endorsement. You couldn't have that endorsement. No, we couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. Recruiting infractions, monetary infractions. University of Kansas is in some self-imposed things as they pull Bill Self off of the recruiting trail this summer. University of Tennessee is dealing with some things as Jeremy Pruitt and his wife are actually doing things illegally, as well as some other things on the recruiting trail that should not have happened. And so all these coaches are doing things and things are happening, and the NCAA is like, well, we're going to crack down on certain things, but as we're cracking down, hey, athlete, making it easier for you to do the things you want to do. We're already seeing a lot of players play in 2 and 3 high schools, not so much in football, but I do know in basketball, some guys, especially your elite guys, they'll play in 2 or 3 high schools while in high school playing basketball. And you're like, why? That's my first question. And I can understand, like, maybe you move and so you go somewhere else. Most families and most people don't move 2 or 3 times in 4 years. Like, that's not a normal thing for a family. Now, I understand military. I understand different things like that. I understand that jobs move you around. I understand there are things that happen to where you may move around as a family. However, I understand that your average person, most people, are not going to move 3 times in 4 years. Even a local city, Indianapolis, Columbus, Cleveland, in these cities here, you're not going to be moving around 3 times in 4 years with the same job just to do it. You're not, those things do not happen. Most of the time, they don't happen. And so when people do it in high school, sometimes basketball, I scratch my head and wonder, why are they doing this? And I would do the same thing here. I would do the same thing with this. So let's just say, not saying any names, but let's just say there's a player at Ohio State that is recruited, really talented kid, comes into Ohio State. Things just don't work out. The NIL is not the way he thought it was going to be. Doesn't like the compliance department. Doesn't like his lack of playing time. Doesn't like his spot on the depth chart. Doesn't like a lot of the things going on. And what do we find from him next? He transfers. Okay, great. You leave Ohio State. You go out of the Big Ten. You go to, let's just say you go to Kansas. I just mentioned Bill Self. Let's stick with Kansas. You go to Kansas, and the next thing you know, you go to Kansas year 2. You want to transfer, but academically, your credit didn't transfer. Kind of hard to go and be at a new environment, new coach, new schedule, all of those things. So your grades kind of slip. You want to transfer. All of a sudden, things don't go your way with the portal because you're not academically in good standing, so you can't transfer. You're going to get a little disgruntled. You're not going to be happy you don't get your way. You're not going to be happy for a lot of things that happen. And it goes back to the one thing that when you make things less restrictive, yeah, you might think I could bend the rules. I don't have to focus on that thing. But ultimately, you do. And so that same player that was at Ohio State freshman year, went to Kansas, didn't have to sit out to play, got a little playing time, but still wasn't happy with his playing time there. Wants to transfer after year 2, but academically not there. He gets to be academic good standing in year 3. The next thing you know, with everything there, year 3 after Kansas, playing time a little bit more, but not happy with the lack of winning, lack of success at Kansas. He transfers to Texas. Okay, year 4, all of a sudden, an unfortunate injury. He redshirts that year. He goes to another university at year 5. So you think about it, you're saying, Jay, could that happen? Theoretically, yes. Not hypothetically. It could legitimately happen. But is it the best thing to give players all this freedom and to say, oh, all of a sudden, we're going to dump this on you. You can move here, and you could dump this on you, and you can move here. Honestly, as much as it's probably going to make me feel weird saying this, athletes not having the same opportunities that other students have when it comes to freedom of moving and transferring. But now, if you're a regular student, all your credits might not transfer as well. So it's not like it's something that's only on athletes. It's something that's on every student. If I'm in the band and I want to transfer to another university, or if I'm just a regular student that gets homesick and I want to transfer to a school closer to home, all of my credits might not transfer. So it's not just something that's against your student athletes. This is just a regular student as well. The non-transferring of credits and having to work a little bit harder to stay up in academically good standing, that's going to happen to anybody. That's one thing that's going to happen there. But for the players, if I'm a coach, hesitant. If I'm a player, I'm happy. Is it the best thing for them? I have a hard time saying it's bad. I shouldn't allow this simply because they're students. There's a reason why student athlete is first but in the phrase that was put out by the NCAA, because the NCAA wants to put the emphasis on the student. Well, if you're a student first and you have to be in academically good standing, if you are, why should you not be able to transfer and immediately play at the next university? These are things that are happening. I don't have to like it. I don't like it, just to be honest with you. I don't like how all this is handled. I don't like how things are just being dumped. I don't like how the NCAA is doing things to cover themselves and cover their butts for things that they've been doing for decades and decades and decades. I don't. But for the athlete, a little extra freedom. Yeah, I get it. I understand. It's like in the NBA. I don't like the way free agency is utilized and players can dictate so many things that are going on. But as you let the cart get before the horse, as you let the players get more power, we see in the NBA, it's not always the best thing. It's not always the best thing in other sports as well. Oh, there's one other thing that might change for the transfer portal. You thought we were done talking about changes? We're not. We'll discuss the next thing right here on Locked On Buckeyes. Coming up later this week, I will be at Big Ten Media Days. It starts tomorrow and also on Wednesday in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana at Lucas Oil Stadium. I encourage everybody to tap into Locked On Buckeyes over the next few days. As on Thursday's show, we'll be recapping what took place in Indianapolis at Big Ten Media Days. I'll be down there. Ohio State's there on Wednesday. Ryan Day is speaking on Wednesday. He is the last coach to speak at Big Ten Media Days. So I'm excited, absolutely excited to sit back, relax, enjoy Big Ten Media Days, talk to some head coaches, talk to numerous stars in the Big Ten Football Conference, and inch closer, oh, so much closer to the start of the college football season. So we discussed a possible rule change earlier in regards to unlimited transfers. Players that can transfer as many times as they want to and play immediately as long as they're in academically good standing. But there's more. This is one that I do think is probably the best for everybody involved. And it's the possible implementation of recruiting windows. As it currently stands, players can enter the portal whenever they want to. Now, there was a deadline where you needed to let your school know in written notice that you're going to be going to the transfer portal. So there was that rule there. But really, there wasn't any restrictions on when you could transfer outside of like that one little rule. Players are transferring in the season. We saw that at Ohio State. Players are transferring literally right after the game against the team up north. Players are transferring in the weeks leading up to the bowl game during spring practice. This stuff is happening all around. This is going to make things harder for Ryan Day as well, but I also think it's better for people because instead of, oh, I can lose a linebacker in the middle of the season, that same linebacker that can't enter the portal, he could also quit on the team. So into the portal in the middle of the season, you don't look as bad as if you quit on the team. But however, both ways, if you do it in the middle of the season and you're a little disgruntled, it can be looked at as you quitting on your team. That's a discussion that it's more of a barbershop type of thing. We'll discuss that possibly, but trust me, both things are possible. But the new possible way they're going to implement different rules and transfer windows where players need to enter into this window they need to enter the portal inside of this period of time. 40 for fall sports or football. There's 45 days following the selection of the championship, you can enter the portal. So 45 days after the championship is selected, you can enter the transfer portal. The other time period, there's 60 days total. That's 45 days. The other time period is between May 1st through May 15th. So you have 45 days, roughly right after the day after the selection show on ESPN for college football, and then which will also be during bowl season. But then also that's 45 days there. The next time you can enter the portal is between May 1st and May 15th. A written notice is needed to your university that you're going to be entering the portal. For winter sports and spring sports, trying to scroll right here and see this on my paper on the computer screen. For winter and spring sports, students could provide written notification. I'm reading this right off of the NCAA.org website. Students could provide written notification of transfer the day after NCAA selections in that sport for 60 calendar days. So 60 days following when the championship is elected, you can enter the portal once again. 60 days total for both. Now, with this winter and spring sports, you realize why it's a little bit of one window, not two, because spring practice is very big in collegiate college football. It's huge. It's not like summer school, but you could say it's spring school, to where you're learning things, getting your feet wet. There's a practice, a scrimmage at the end. So it's very, very big. So these windows are big. And as much as Ryan Day might feel a little weird or feel some type of way about the new transfer rule that players can transfer multiple times immediately, not sitting out 1 year if they're in academically good standing, they can still transfer as many times as they want to now under the current rules. But under the current rules, after you're eligible to play immediately the first time, you have to sit out once again. And even now, there are times schools are requesting waivers for players to not have to sit out so they can play right away. Honestly, these transfer windows, I believe this is a good move, an absolutely amazing move. You say, Jay, why? Academics is supposed to be the most important thing. Now, okay, academics are important. I think academics have been diminishing collegiate athletics for quite some time, but academics are important. You saying a player can, now think about this though. Think about what we're saying. December, basically for football. In December, a little bit of January, and in May, school's out. These kids aren't in school. These kids are not doing anything academically. Now you might be in summer school, and I don't think summer school will start that soon, but you might be in summer school and things like that. But I do believe, now this is not an article, this is just Jay using his own brain to put two and two together. Nothing's going on in school. And at the end of the season, you're thinking a lot about your future. Do I want to be here next year? Do I not want to be here next year? If you're a winter or spring sport athlete, you have 2 months to decide things. You don't have to decide things immediately. At the end of the football season, regular season, you could be a team that's ready to play for the national championship, and you could be the third string quarterback that says, I'm done here. I'm entering the portal right now. So be it. That's your freedom. That you have the opportunity to do that. But at the same time, there's no school going on at all. You might have finals, but some students might say, well, I can finish my finals, decide my future. I have a 45-day window. If I still am not sure about if I'm going to be here or not, but I still don't, and I don't know where if I want to go to the portal. At 45 days, I can still be on the team, still be on the scholarship if I'm under scholarship, and move forward with it. Assuming you still keep that scholarship during the spring, and assuming that the coaches don't think or don't hear that you might be leaving, or maybe you're determined to leave. Next, May 1st to May 15th, what else? That's graduation season. So I think that the NCAA is saying, yeah, we'll give you time period at the end of the season. But for football, 45 days, you got spring ball. You can't go anywhere during spring ball. You got 15 days in May. I actually don't think it's just a bad idea. I don't at all. The players might say, I want to leave whenever I want to. There are rules, buddy. There are rules. Your job has rules. My job has rules. Everybody has rules and guidelines we have to abide by. This isn't the end of the world. And I do think this is a good thing for everybody involved. I have no idea what came up on my phone. That didn't even touch my phone right there, but who knows? Technology sometimes has a mind of its own. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Remember to make sure Locked On Buckeyes, or thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of every day. Now make sure to check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Know what your team is up against across the Big Ten with Locked On Big Ten. Every day, host Nate Dickinson and the local experts of Locked On take you across the Big Ten in 30 minutes. Make Locked On Big Ten, just like Locked On Buckeyes, listens and podcasts you listen to every single day. This is a Monday, getting the day and the week started off. I hope you guys have a great day.